Well, 45 years ago, the Apple Computer Company was just an obscure startup run by a pair of college dropouts in a Northern California garage. Today, the iPhone maker is the most valuable and most profitable enterprise in the world. Paolo Montecillo tells us how Apple grew its $2 trillion business and where it will branch out next.
Jimmy Grewal displays the latest item in an ever-growing private collection. This backroom at his Dubai-based electronics firm may look like a graveyard for old office hardware. But the items on these shelves were all once ahead of their time, designed by a company that, for decades, has pushed the boundaries of consumer tech.
My first computer was an Apple computer, which I got in 1983. But I only started collecting Apple computers when I went to university. And I've been collecting ever since, so it's over 25 years now that I've been increasing my collection of rare and interesting Apple products.
The most important piece in Grewal's private collection is this, the Apple I. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak hand-assembled 200 of these in 1976. He did it in the home of fellow Apple founder, the late Steve Jobs. In 2014, a computer like this was sold at auction for more than $900,000. So understandably, it's a favorite of visitors to this makeshift museum.
When they come in here, they see what's beneath the water, how long and rich and deep Apple's history is in the technology industry, and how for over 40 years they've been pioneers in making technology accessible to the average person.
Apple devices helped bring personal computers into billions of homes. The firm changed the way people listened to music with the iPod in 2001. And in 2010 came the iPad, changing the way computers look and how we use them. But what Apple is most known for today is the iPhone, its biggest moneymaker. The California-based company sold more than 2 billion iPhones since 2007, and it serves as a gateway device that keeps customers hooked on Apple products.
The advantage that Apple had that they pressed on is that a good portion of those customers, right, and a good portion of Google's for home and Amazon's have iPhones. And so they leveraged the fact that they own the Pocket really more so than either of those companies.
Apple is worth more than $2 trillion, and analysts say its valuation could go much higher. They've issued those predictions after speculation that Apple's developing an electric self-driving car, which could enter the market in the next 3 years. If and when that happens, Apple fan Grewal will need to get a bigger office. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
For more, let's welcome Daniel Ives. He's a tech analyst and the managing director of Wedbush Securities in New York. Daniel, before we talk about where to now, let's talk about what was first. I shudder to admit that I resisted the iPhone at first because I just didn't see why I would want the internet and apps in my pocket all the time, and now I can't live without it. What about you? Which innovation that Apple has brought to our lives has been the most meaningful for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly the iPhone. And I remember, being there when they launched it, in terms of jobs. And I think many had the same reaction that you did. Why do I need this? And now we have 975 million iPhones worldwide today. And I think it really speaks, it's the ecosystem that they built. If you look at Nokia, BlackBerry, others that have been very successful from a device perspective, they weren't able to monetize and build a flywheel. And that's what Apple's built, the golden brand around the world. And you've seen it with iPads, AirPods, across the board from Macs. And we believe over the next 6 to 9 months, they'll announce the first start of an Apple car.
Yeah, okay, let's talk then about where to for Apple now, because it was such a visionary company, but how many more iterations of the iPhone can they rely on? Where do you think the company needs to go next?
Yeah, I think that's a bit of misnomer, is maybe a lot of the innovation is in the rearview mirror. I mean, if you look at AirPods alone, that would basically be a Fortune 100 company, just in terms of revenues. I believe next it's going to be further monetizing on the services side. That's called a $65 billion revenue stream. And then really, I think the next step is going to be on the Apple Car. I think from an EV perspective, that as well as on the AR, VR, and Apple Glass, which we believe gets announced over the next year. Those are the key, initiatives going forward that monetize a 1.6 billion iOS devices worldwide.
So what would an Apple Car look like? Take us inside on the passenger seat there. What do you think is going to make the Apple Car so special?
Sure. And first off, right now they're going through the EV dating game. We believe that Volkswagen is the likely partner from an OEM perspective. So you get into an Apple Car, it's going to be full, that ecosystem will be fully sort of in the vehicle in terms of everything you see from the software perspective, the LiDAR technology, as well as what we believe is going to be the self-driving, the FSD that they bring to the table. And this is something where it's going to be very similar to what you see from an iPhone in terms of in the car, as well as a lot of the device features that many want to see. And I think going forward, I think Apple is going to continue to innovate on the EV market. We believe 3 to 5% share when they come out by 2024 is probably even just for starters in terms of where they can get to.
And just finally, very briefly, Apple boss Tim Cook has said he doesn't want Apple to be remembered for the Mac and the iPhone, but rather its contribution to the health sector. Why is the health sector considered so important?
Well, and I think that's part of the DNA of Cupertino. And of course, Apple Watch has been key in terms on the health side, in terms of a lot of the applications. And that's a big part of Apple's initiatives, but it just shows they want to become further and further entrenched in the consumer, from the health to what we see in the home, as well as everywhere else. And that's why I believe a year from now, we're looking not just at a $2 trillion market cap, but a $3 trillion one.
Interesting forecast. I look forward to maybe in a few years' time talking to you about it then. Thank you so much, Daniel Ives, joining us there.